Hi everyone, my name is Julie. This is Keep Calm with Books and Coffee. I talk about books on this channel, mainly books about magic, and if you want to see more of that, you can subscribe down below. Welcome back, and today we are going to be doing my March TBR game. Does anyone else feel like even though January took 10 million years, February took about 4 seconds? I feel like I blinked and the month was over. And I know logically the February is the shortest month, but it really felt it this year. So I was planning on taking March off of readathons because January was TBR-a-thon and February I was the lead investigator for Clue. And I just kind of wanted to take a break in March, but I saw Cassidy's announcement for Realmathon, and after watching the announcement and seeing people talk about it, I realized that this is a pretty casual readathon that I'll actually be able to read kind of whatever I want for the month and then prompt shop and hopefully help my team as much as possible, but also I don't have to stick to a certain number of prompts. So I was really excited about that and decided to join Realmathon for the first time this year because I just had never realized how casual it was before, and I'm really excited to check it out this year. So I have joined the Ravens, which I am really excited about. The colors were the reason that I joined this, and also I'm a big fan of Ravens. So that was the lure here. I'm also just really excited to read some fantasy in March. I don't know what it is, but I'm just feeling that need right now, so I'm hoping that this fantasy-based readathon will benefit from me reading a bunch of fantasy and that my TBR game will let me read a bunch of fantasy. If you haven't heard of Realmathon and you'd like to check it out, I will have Cassidy linked down below along with the announcement video for you to check out. Like I said, it's super casual and seems really fun, so I am very excited to join this year. But let's jump into my TBR game rolls so you can see what is actually on my TBR for this month. If this is your first time here and you've never seen me play this TBR game before, or if you need a refresher, how I do this is I roll a d6 to see how many squares are going to be on my bingo board for the month. So if I roll a 3, the board will be 3 by 3 and I will have 9 squares. If I roll a 1, I have to roll again in order to get more than 1 square. So a 1 will be added to whatever the second roll is. For example, if I roll a 1 and then I roll a 5, I end up with a 6 by 6 board. So the max number of prompts I could get is 7 by 7. That seems overwhelming. Luckily, that has never happened. Then after we know how big the board is, I roll a d20 to see what prompt is going to go in which square. So a roll of 1 to 5 is a hard prompt. Like in D&D, we go from 1 being the worst roll you could get to 20 being the best roll you could get. So if I roll from 1 to 5, I get a difficult prompt. This is not meant to be a punishment. It's just something that I wouldn't necessarily do on my own, something that's a little bit more difficult, a little bit more challenging, and it's just something I don't want to do necessarily. After the hard prompts, we have basic prompts, which are rolls from 6 to 15. These are ones that I would typically do, would normally be on my TBR, things I would pick up probably on my own, but maybe would help me focus on a specific goal or a specific genre. These are usually just pretty easy wins for me, ones that I can just cross off. Even if I don't end up reading the book that I pick for the TBR prompt, I will probably cross it off anyway. And then we get rolls from 16 to 20, which are reward prompts, ones that I really want to do, ones that I wish I could fill the whole board with, ones that give me a break from other types of prompts. These are all really fun and exciting ones and ones I would really want. So that's how the game works, and we are going to jump into the rolls to see how they worked out for me this month. I do have a handful of priority reads. I have 5 things here that I will probably be reading in the background around my TBR, whether they end up on the board or not, but we are going to try to get them on the board. So the first one is Sunbringer by Hannah Kanner. This is the second book in the Fallen Gods series, and I'm hoping to get to this next month so that I can reread it before the third and final book comes out in April. Then we have Call Down the Hawk by Maggie Stiefvater. This is one that has been on my TBR and I've been technically reading for a couple of months now, but I haven't finished. This was supposed to be for my series Scary video for January and it just hasn't happened yet. So we're going to try to get this finished up in March so I can show you that first video. Then we have Wind Witch by Susan Dennard. This was supposed to get read in February, but it was supposed to be a buddy read with Brittany from Brittany Loves Reading and Jess from the Hex Library, but I think none of us just ended up having time or drive to read this month, so I'm hoping to get to it in March and continue on with my reread of the series. Then we have Painted Devils by Margaret Owen. This is the second book in the Little Thieves series, and this is one that Margaret from The Word Nerd and Leandra from Leandra the TBR Zero are hosting a read-along for this series, and I would like to read this for that live show, so hopefully I will get to this. And then I also have A Drop of Corruption by Robert Jackson Bennett. I have an arc of this, and I would like to read it before the book comes out on April 1st. We'll see if that happens, but I am hoping that it will. So we are going to have a 3x3 board this time. I'm really happy with that, actually. I was hoping for a bit of a smaller board after having a 5x5 board last month that was entirely different books for possibilities for Clue, and I'm really excited to kind of have a more casual board that I can read what I want this month, hopefully. So our first roll was a special edition, and I am going to stretch this because I want to get Sunbringer on the board. I have an Illumicrate edition, but I am going to be reading my normal edition and annotating it and making it special. So this is a bit of a stretch. Like I said, this is the second book in the Philolin Gods series by Hannah Canner. The first book is God Killer, where we follow Kissin in a world where gods are outlawed, and she comes across a young noble girl who has a god attached to her, and therefore she cannot kill this god without harming the child. That is the start of the first book. It's one of my favorite series of all time right now, and I can't wait for the finale, so we are going to be putting this on the TBR. Like I said, it's a stretch, but I need to get Sunbringer on here and prioritize it for March. Next up was a 5-star prediction, and for me, I'm going to put A Drop of Corruption by Robert Jackson Bennett in this spot. I am really excited for this sequel. I actually read The Tainted Cup twice last year and loved it, so I am really anticipating that this second book will also be a hit. In the first book, we follow Din and Arna, who are a Sherlock and Watson type duo as they investigate a death in the empire that they live in, and there are dangerous flora and fauna, and they're trying to discover if the tree that erupted out of this military engineer's chest is going to be a larger problem or if it's isolated just to him. This world is fascinating, and the retelling or reimagining aspects of this with Sherlock Holmes are also fascinating, and I simply can't wait to get back to this world and these characters. Then we got one of the hardest prompts in this entire game with the oldest book on my physical TBR, and that is The Tiger's Daughter by K. Arsenault Rivera. I am going to put an extra challenge on this book by saying that if I don't read this book this month, it is going to be a DNF and a series that I have to unhaul. It's because I have had this on my TBR for so long. It's been on so many TBRs, and I really need to just give this an honest try and see if I'm going to like it or not. This is about an empire that is slowly deteriorating and 2 women warriors who have emerged to try and save it. I've had it on my TBR, like I said, for years, and I just really want to give it a shot. So that is, since I want to read fantasy, we're gonna read fantasy. Oof. Then we got another difficult prompt, and it is to read outside or not read in my house. So I have to go somewhere if I can't get outside. So I should be able to at some point in March. We usually have a warm day or 2. If not, I will find a place to read that's not my house, but I don't have a specific book for this. This is just a task that the board has given me. So we're hopeful that since spring is coming, I will be able to get outside and read at least once. The dice continued to be mean. and challenging with a new to me author. Now, this isn't necessarily the biggest challenge, but since I am adding an extra challenge to this book, I'm going to put The Tiger's Daughter on here twice in hopes that I actually get to it. I don't know how to tell you how many TBRs this has been on, so like I said, this is one that I am really encouraging myself to get to. So we are going to put it on here a second time with another hard prompt in order to hopefully finish this book in this month. So the prompt for this role was food on the cover, and I couldn't find that on my physical TBR. I don't have a book that I see with food on the cover. So because of this, I'm actually going to take this out of the game because this is supposed to be something I can find easily as a basic prompt, and it's not. So I have decided, and also like my physical TBR is my priority, and they're the ones that I mainly pick for these bingo board books. So we're going to choose the next book on the basic group and just see what else the board has in store for me since that prompt has not worked out. So that is an LGBTQIA+ author. So let's see, who can I pick for this? So I'm going to take the opportunity to put The Prospects by K.T. Hoffman on here. This is about a trans baseball player and the romance I believe he gets into with his nemesis that gets traded to their team. It sounds really fun. It's full of baseball. It has trans own voices rep here, so I am excited to read this one. And baseball season starts at the end of March. I have to read a baseball romance. Next up was Water on the Cover, and for this I'm choosing Water Moon by Samantha Soto Yambao, and this has water on the cover. It is also about a young woman who inherits a pawn shop where you pawn your greatest, I think, like embarrassment or shame, and not like an item. You pawn those memories, and she inherits the shop, and then the next day it is ransacked. I have heard some really interesting things about this. People both like it and DNF it, so I'm really interested to try my own hand at it. And like I said, it has beautiful water on the front, also water in the title, so win on both counts. The next prompt was a future setting, and for this I am going to choose The Murderbot Diaries by Martha Wells. This is a bind-up of the first two books in the series that I recently picked up, and I have been meaning to reread this series, so I'm not sure which volume, if I'm going to only get to number 1 or number 2, but my plan is to reread at least one of these this month for this prompt. This is about Murderbot, who is a security droid that has hacked their governance and decided that they don't want to do the things that they are commanded to do. They really just want to watch television and relax and not talk to people, which relatable. But they have to kind of keep up appearances and protect the people they have been contracted to so that they aren't found out. And it's just sort of that story of them and the adventures they get along the way. I really remember enjoying the first 2 installments in this series. Like I said, I need to reread them and continue forward, but I have had a grand time reading these, so I can't wait to do that. So for my final pick, I had to choose something that was a random Spotify pick. So what I did was went to my liked songs on Spotify, hit shuffle, and then went forward 2 songs just to kind of like shuffle a little bit and make sure it was like shuffling things. I don't know. I just wanted to not be the first one it chose. So we got Royals by Lorde, which is a song I like. And for this, I've chosen Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. I've wanted to read this book forever, and this has to do with a younger sister who is going to help her older sister who might be in trouble with her royal husband. I don't know if it is necessarily like a king or whatever, but it says in the title that her husband is as powerful as he is wealthy and that he is royal. So that's my pick for this. I'm hoping to get to this in March. I have wanted to try more and more T. Kingfisher the more I hear about them. So this is one that I'm really excited about. But this is the end result. This is the bingo board for March and the possibilities that I have added to that bingo bingo board. I'm really excited to participate in Realmathon and really happy that I was able to fit a few of my priority reads on here for the month in hopes that I will get to them alongside all of the other books that I put on here. And I have some secrets up my sleeve for this month, some things I'm going to be working on that I couldn't tell you about. So if you're interested in that, be sure to subscribe down below to see the results at the end of the month. That is it for me today. If you have any thoughts or feelings or want to share anything about the books that I talked about today, please let me know down below. And if you aren't feeling chatty, go ahead and leave me a ravens emoji. I guess you can leave me whatever emoji is right for your Realmathon team if you really want to, but you know, ravens are the one I want to see. That's it for this video today, but if you want to hang out with me more, you can check out the video that YouTube recommends for you right here, and you can also see a playlist of all my past TBR bingo games if you'd like to check it out right here. That's it for me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!